Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Milford Board of Selectmen meeting for March 7th, 2016. The first item that we have is the signing of the warrant.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have February 22nd, 2016 meeting minutes. Motion?
Yes, I'll move to approve.
Seconded?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. Invitation to speak. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
could I ask for a little latitude in 30 seconds to speak at this point? I spoke at a fourth grade class, and I told them I'd acknowledge them early so that they didn't have to.
Okay. Oh,
So
sure.
we didn't have to
Okay.
keep them up watching our meetings.
Absolutely.
No, I had the opportunity to represent the board for Mrs. Anderson's fourth grade class at Woodland on Super Tuesday, and the kids were great. It was a really great, diverse class that really impressed me with what they were doing, and they want to know all about town government, and I did my best to speak about the role that we serve, and it was really great and interactive, and they made me a card, among other things. So they loved that we were on TV. And I told them that as long as I could jump in at the beginning, I'd be glad to show them their card and thank them personally for having me. So I can't wait
Hold
for
it up,
next time.
hold it up so that they can see it.
So,
Absolutely.
so to Mrs. Anderson and her fourth grade class, thank you so much. I had a great time.
Very good.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. Public hearings, the first one that we have is with the Insurance Advisory Committee. Kelly's here, Peter's here, the Boyles are here. Come on down and break it to us easily.
Good evening.
There it is.
Kelly and Peter, both with the Insurance Advisory Committee, and I know you've been in front of us on a number of occasions, and Peter, certainly you've been doing this for a long time.
Ever since the Insurance Advisory Committee started.
Yeah, and
So I don't know how that long is.
I don't know how long.
1940,
Kelly, you've probably been there that long as well.
In the background, yeah.
Okay.
No, but I'm very glad to have Peter on and all the board members. It's a very seasoned board, and they are very helpful to me, and, so I hope they can, it helps me continue to, they do the good work, and
Yeah, and,
present.
no, the committee, year in and year out, has always brought us very, very favorable information. But, in the world of health insurance, the word favorable is extremely relative. But, compared to, I think, what happens in other communities and the private sector, I think Milford has done quite well. So, before we get started, let me extend thank you from the Board of Selectmen for the work that you do on behalf of the town. I don't think it gets recognized often enough.
They're a very active board.
They really
They're
are.
very helpful, yes.
Really are. So with that, I will turn it over to you, and which one wants to
Also-
take the first hit?
Also with us tonight is Brian Boyle Senior. and
Yes.
Brian Boyle Junior.
Yes.
Our healthcare consultants, so they're here to help fill in. They, meet with our IAC.
And I know, Brian Senior, you've been with us a number of years. And again, your advice and guidance has been very, very helpful. And it's very refreshing to see you bring your son on board, and he's been very helpful as well. So we're fortunate to have you in a consulting role.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
So, as I wrote in the memo to the board, the Insurance Advisory Committee met a couple of times in February, and we received quotes, renewal quote from Blue Cross Blue Shield. We had invited other carriers to quote Harvard Pilgrim, but they declined to submit a bid this year. Tufts and Fallon Health Plan as well. We received quotes from the other carriers, and after conversation with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they came back with a renewal with an increase of 5.4%, which is what the board, what the committee would like to recommend to the board. The other carriers, one was slightly lower, and one was a few percentage points higher. Both required a full total enrollment of, even including our senior plans. in those quotes. So I don't know if the board has any questions on,
Peter, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, the only thing is, you will notice that there was a slightly lower bid from Tufts, and we took a hard look at that. I think what kind of pushed us away from that was the fact that, first of all, we've only been with Blue Cross for 1 year, basically, number one. Number two, our utilization in some particular small areas was pretty high with some particular cases. When you look at that, and then you look at that Fallon came in a little bit higher, and Harvard Pilgrim decided not to bid, you kind of wonder where Tufts was coming from to be able to come out with that figure. And again, they also wanted all of our business. We do have Tufts in town. We have some seniors that are with them. But they wanted all of the business. So I think what the group, the AIC kind of looked at was, are you just trying to lure us in? Because somewhere along the line, the bills have to be paid. The major cases that are out there that are they're gonna be ongoing. They're not going away this year. So I wonder if Tufts took that into account, or, in other words, were you just trying to sign us up, and then next year, we pay the price again? So what we come down to is, we felt as though 5% was, the 5.5 was below trend, which we didn't expect. We expected it to be closer to trend, and it was below trend. And I think part of that was driven, as Kelly said, by the fact that Tufts did put in a bid, and they forced Blue Cross to relook at those things. So I think it all came down to was that we felt as though we had to stay with Blue Cross at least for another year and see where this is playing out. And again, we were just kind of more suspicious of Tufts, where they were, and, we didn't ignore the fact that they were cheaper, and it would have saved the town side about $80,000 or $90,000, but it just didn't seem, when you look at all the statistics, you expect the companies to kind of be looking, where do you get this lower bid all of a sudden? It
Right.
just, if it was closer, but to be percentage points below, it's like, it just didn't figure in. So that's where we based our decision on, And the decision was unanimous. We spent a couple of hours hashing this out and talking about Tufts, and
Sure.
so that's how we arrived at where we are.
Okay. Brian, your take on this before I turn it over to the board?
Yeah, I think the only two things that I would add are, in addition to a really strong renewal number at the 5.4%, Blue Cross is also making an investment in Milford for the long term. They've given us a $15,000 wellness grant for the current year. And one of the things that's good about that kind of an investment is that it allows folks in the town to start taking steps to improve. You're not going to realize it necessarily next year, but 1, 2, 3 years down the road, if you make some changes in habits, maybe the claims will go down. So I think Blue Cross is really sort of thinking forward by doing that. The other thing I would just say is to kind of reemphasize what Kelly already said about the due diligence that the IAC did. Everybody has been very happy with Blue Cross, but when they saw that they were getting a competitive proposal from Tufts, they really dug into the differences between benefits and, hashed it all out. And I think at the end of the day, they just felt that given the investment Blue Cross had made, given the fairness of the number in light of the claims experience, just to give you a sense, there's over $3.7 million in claims just by 31 people. So it's like over $120,000 per person for some of those high claim members. It was a strong number that Blue Cross put forward, and I think that's what the IAC was really responding to.
Peter had talked about the trend numbers. What are we talking about? Because usually we see these things coming in 12%, 15%, 18%.
Yeah.
The trend number is different for carrier to carrier. The Blues are using about 7.5.
Okay.
And even though we're looking at that rate increase of 5.4%, the Affordable Care Act is probably about 1.5%
Yep.
of that 5.4%. So if that didn't come into play, in all probability, we would have seen a number from the Blues somewhere in the 4% range. But unfortunately, the Affordable Care Act is in play.
Well, that's okay, I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, this is probably as low an increase as I can remember. I don't know
I
that,
was very pleased with it.
you know, with straight insurance on insurance.
Maybe 10 years ago, we saw one lower, but it
Yeah,
hasn't been
it-
over- it hasn't
right,
been a
That's what
while.
I recall
It's
in
been quite a
some
while,
time.
yeah. All right, let me turn it over to the board. Bill?
You know, I'd agree with a lot of the comments made. Certainly, this is one of the lower ones. I'm not jumping to the point that I'm enthusiastic about a 5.4 percent increase. But having said that, I have heard feedback from community members who work for the town that are happy with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I generally agree that although we have a municipal bidding process for this, I think, weighing all the factors is important, and I don't know that jumping for a percent is something that makes sense or is advisable. So it seems like your discussions and your thought process were thoughtful anyway. The wellness component is significant from Blue Cross Blue Shield in light of the increase and in comparison to the others. So, I think overall, Milford nets a pretty favorable rating this year. And just to echo what Brian had said, this is, I think, the lowest one that I can recall.
In quite a few years.
Yeah.
I was quite pleased.
So I'm not ready to do backflips, but I'm encouraged by a lower rate than I've
Understand
seen
the
in a long time.
I don't think you'll ever do back.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Will?
Mr. Chairman, I'm all set. I'm very comfortable, and you guys have made your case. And I think even clear that making a change to Tufts would have changed even our Medicare supplement folks. I mean, that says a lot, too.
That was a big
So that makes
consideration on my.
total sense to me.
Yeah, in my opinion, that was a big factor.
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
The $15,000 wellness grant, how does that work?
So what happens is on your anniversary date, which is May 1st,
Okay.
actually, the town of Milford already has some money to spend on wellness programs between now and May, but on May 1st, your wellness bank re-ups to $15,000, which is an increase, almost double what they've given in the past. And so we'll be able to put together some really strong programs, things like, walking programs and competitions, Fitbit incentives, things to kind of get people interested in figuring out how to take care of themselves on a day-to-day basis.
They're in the process of customizing one of their website for the town of Milford employees, so they can log in probably with, I haven't seen it yet, but I assume with their ID number, and it will have, our specific information, if they wanted to access summary of benefits or any information. And there'll be walking challenges with incentives, like Brian mentioned, Fitbits or small gift cards. You can set up different groups if you want to do building by building, or just anybody that wants to join,
So is that money that Blue Cross Blue Shield holds, or is it actually held by the town?
it's held by Blue Cross.
Held by Blue
But
Cross
it's allocated to the town of Milford.
for these particular
wellness.
grant programs?
Yep.
And then what happens if it doesn't get fully allocated? Is it just,
If you don't use it,
yeah,
you lose it, but it's not,
Okay.
it renews at its full amount for the following year.
Okay.
It's not like,
all right.
We can also set up, which I'm hoping to at an open enrollment meeting, set up certain, like a blood pressure and
Different screenings they
different
said they would
screenings.
offer.
Okay.
They'll have a nurse come on site
And-
and do that. They'll do flu
So-
shots.
So
in
it's
the
going to be very
fall.
important to get information out to the employees so
Yes,
that
and
they
as
know
soon
that
as-
these particular benefits might be available.
Absolutely.
Okay,
You know what I liked about it, Brian, was the fact that they allow us to drive it.
okay,
It's not, the insurance company is not saying, we're giving you $15,000, but you need to do this, this, and this. What they're saying is, we're giving you $15,000, you tell us what you want us to do for you.
Okay.
And I thought that was an important part of any kind of a wellness program, because it doesn't fit every town the same way or every group of individuals, so we can drive what we want to do for our population.
and is that going to come from your committee, or?
Yes, I think.
Yes, we
Okay.
decided we are gonna.
Do it as a committee.
Yep.
They gave us a list of, costs for different, different types of screening, so much, there's a charge per, so we can kind of they'll help us keep track of that grant money.
Now, would this be over and above, say, a reimbursement to like a gym or a health club?
Yes, over and above.
Yeah.
Okay,
They currently offer $150 for gym reimbursement and another $150 for weight loss reimbursement.
okay, all right, great, good. Very good. All right, with that, I think we need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to renew the contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield, also the contracts with Delta Dental and Boston Mutual Life Insurance Company at the recommendation of the IAC.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Those are all the votes you need?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
See you again.
Seeing you.
All right, good luck with everything.
Good luck, Peter.
The next appointment that we have is with the highway surveyor. Scott is here, and we're going to be reviewing town meeting articles. How are you? Good. So we have the, let's see what we have, Scott. Looks like we have 4, I think.
Yes, we got 4.
Yeah, we have 4, so that's whichever order you'd like to go through them on is fine.
We start with Louisa Lake, I guess.
Okay. That's the 150,000?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
That's about half of what we figure it's gonna cost to do the maintenance on Louisa Lake. It's not that 600,000 number that we had before.
Right.
Within that number, though, the highway department's gonna do a lot of that work. So we hope to cut that down a lot more. There's a second installment that we're looking for in 2020. Not sure if we're gonna need that at this point or not, but going forward, we'll start with the 150, get all the maintenance we possibly can get done, and go from there.
Okay. And that's pursuant to the peer review report that we received.
Correct.
Talked a lot about brush maintenance and
Yep.
some of the other stuff that needs to be done around the
A lot of
spillway.
basic stuff that we can handle within the department. We don't need to sub it out or put it out to bid or anything like that. It's a lot of concrete patching. It's mostly brush control, so it's
Okay.
gonna be a regular maintenance issue for us going forward, so we'll take care of that part of it.
You want to take these individually? or-
Probably should, because they're each their own entity. I don't
Okay.
know. Just real quick, in looking at the difference between the $600,000 bid and the 250, I think $280,000 bid, I know one of the big drivers was the riprap and the mortar joints between, it seemed to be a big cost driver in the original one. My guess is from the peer review, that's out as part of a process that you're going to do?
Well, there's one part of the dam wall that's not grouted.
Okay.
It's just stones.
Right.
At this point, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
There is no reason to do it.
Exactly.
Just to
Okay.
stop the brush from growing through, and as long as we keep on top of the brush, it's not gonna grow back. So
Okay.
at this point, we're not gonna actually do that part.
That was the only question I had related to this, Brian.
Will?
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
Let's do 319 grant.
Which one? I'm sorry.
That's the,
$50,748.
Yep.
okay.
All right, so Vonnie applied for this grant back almost 2 years ago now, and the matching funds for this grant is $150,748. With this grant, we're gonna be installing a stormwater treatment wetland at the corner of Sumner Street and Dilla Street. So that whole wooded block right there. So that will infiltrate the water and clean it up before it goes into the river. And with that, in the design, there'll actually be a walkway around it, and it'll be actually something to look at. So, it also helps with our stormwater permitting, so.
Yeah, Vonnie was here, I don't know if it was last meeting or a couple of meetings ago, talked about it, thought it was great.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, it's a great way to access state money, and it seems like a very natural way to handle a problem that has become very, very big with the EPA.
Right, it's a step forward, you know, towards our stormwater permit and compliance with it, and the little things like this that we have to do, so the more grants we can get and get it paid for as much as possible, we're gonna try to do that.
Absolutely.
This is the start, so I think this will be a great thing. It'll be a better looking area than it is now.
Sure.
Right now, it's just a wooded area with brush everywhere.
And so you're talking about, it's like that little triangle piece of land between Sumner and Dilla?
Yeah, right on, if you're coming out of Sumner, right on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that's just square, perfect
Okay.
square.
okay. Bill?
Yeah, Scott, just real quick, so what was the funding formula? In other words, what was the minimum requirement for the town to put forward versus what's been received by the grant? And
Because I brought the wrong sheet, I don't have the exact number on me, maybe you have it.
We got a total project cost of $376,038, and the town's looking to raise $150,748. So it looks like the state portion is about 2.25. I don't know, Vonnie's had it. Do you have the numbers, Vonnie, or?
Yeah, it's a 40-60 grant.
Okay,
4060, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, total project cost of $376,038.
So we've met the minimum threshold required with that 150,000, or are we exceeding? I haven't calculated it out, but where are we?
That's the
Right at
exact
the,
number.
right at the number?
That's
Okay,
the exact number, yep.
all right. That's the only question I had, thank you.
Will?
Yeah, my only question is, or whether it's you or Vonnie, is aesthetically, I mean, what will this look like? Will it be a pool? Would it be going through high brush? I mean, do we know what exactly we'll get?
I think it'll look more like a wetland.
Okay.
Wetland plants and flowers, or, you know, stuff, it'll look nice. It'll be something to look at when you walk around, and, you know, it'll probably turn into a bird sanctuary, who knows? But it will be much better looking than what is there now.
Okay, fair enough.
Very good.
All right, next.
2 down, 2 to go.
All right, Fisk Mill Bridge. That's $50,000 for half the design cost to replace the bridge on Fisk Mill Road. The bridge is half owned by the town of Upton, so we're only into it for half. We don't really have a total for the bridge repair yet. I don't wanna throw numbers around at this point, but I think for the fall town meeting, we will have an accurate number for the repair work. But for now, it's $50,000 just for the half of the design.
And have you been coordinating with Upton? Are they in agreement that they're gonna be paying 50% as well?
Yes, and I don't know when they're gonna raise the amount to repair the bridge. So we're leaving that up in the air for now. We can get it before them, absolutely, but, you know, if they're gonna be waiting years, it is what it is, I mean.
Well, I
we
mean,
can
you've gotta
afford to do
take
it.
step one anyway. I mean,
Right.
you've gotta have the engineering work done anyway,
Right,
to find out what physical work actually has to be done. So before you can get to step 2, you gotta do step 1 regardless.
exactly. So we actually tried to get a grant for this, and we may have got it paid for, but it was for any small bridge, which is 20 feet and under. This bridge is 21 feet. We just missed it.
I think they wrote the grant with that in mind.
Use a different tape measure, huh?
We tried everything.
First engineering lesson right there. Okay,
So,
Bill?
well, all right, so,
Yeah, the questions I had are similar to Brian's, but are we saying that Upton's going forward with their engineering fees?
yes.
So this represents half of that, and we're not going to expend unless they expend?
As far as I know, they already have an article for town meeting for half the design.
All right, but they're in the same situation we are, right? We've got a bridge we need to repair, but juggling a lot of things in the air. Whether or not that gets approved or not is dependent upon town meeting.
Depending on the number it's gonna cost to actually repair the bridge, will determine how much time they get to get the money, I guess.
Right, but from an engineering perspective, we're not going forward. If they don't go forward, it's contingent upon their funds, okay?
Yeah,
I just
yes,
wanted.
absolutely.
Okay. That was my only question. We have bridges that are dangerous, that have been identified as such. We obviously need to do it. So, just to be clear to people, this $50,000 doesn't repair the bridge. It only provides for the engineering services. Okay.
Right, it's 1/2.
It's one half of the
Yeah.
engineering services, yep. Okay.
Well,
The dangers of going third, I'm all set, Scott.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's a no-brainer.
Off the bridge.
Yep.
Fix the
Bridge
bridge.
needs repairing.
And it gets a lot of traffic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's definitely, they consider a cut-through for the town of Upton, big time, so. You know, the failures are more or less the railings on the sides, because it's a monolithic pole where the deck and the rails on the side are all one unit. The railings being gone, the whole deck has to be replaced. That's basically always a deck replacement. You're talking 2-3 weeks maximum to shut the bridge down, so.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
125?
All right, last one, stormwater mapping. 2 years ago, we started our mapping project for stormwater compliance. The total cost was supposed to be $325,000. Last 2 years, we raised $100,000. This year, I'm raising $125,000 to finish the project. Pretty much it. That'll have all our mapping done for the next stormwater permit when it comes out. We'll be ahead of the game.
I know we've talked about in the past for the benefit of folks in attendance and the folks at home. Can you tell us exactly what that, in general terms, what that mapping provides?
Basically maps out the whole drainage system, where the pipes go, where the outfalls are, where all the catch basins and manholes are, and when it's said and done, we will have a map that we can look at that will tell us where everything is in the whole town, without having to go search for stuff and you know, try to figure out what things are. It should be about 99% accurate. There's some stuff we're just never gonna know, that we don't know where it goes. But the outfalls is the big thing also, so we know when one pipe runs down, where it comes out, and if there's a problem, where to look for it without tracing everything through the town, and we'll see it on a map.
Is this also part of the program that the EPA pushes for, the EP pushes for in terms of illicit discharges? You'll also likely identify some of those?
Yeah, it would be used for that, well, it would help us identify those, because we would know where the pipes are running. So if you have an outfall that you have, you know, contamination coming out of, we can trace it back.
Okay.
In the
No, I
past,
know.
we've had to open every manhole from where it starts to where we find it, and that's a huge project, so. This will be a great thing. It'd be a great piece of information to have.
What's that? Will?
I'm all set, Scott.
Good,
All right,
alrighty.
Thank you,
Chris.
Scott.
Thank you.
all right, don't go anywhere. Yep. We're gonna ask the police chief to come down, and also the town engineer, because we have the item on the agenda regarding the Beach Street heavy vehicle truck exclusion study. And the town engineer got us a couple of quotes for services, differing in price and I think level of service, which is significant. The chief has given us a number of different memos regarding the history of this situation. And Scott, I know you've been involved in this as well. So, you know, the idea is, I guess I should say, what is needed to try to get a truck exclusion on Beach Street, and to the best that you could offer, an opinion of probability of success. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't know, you know, if Tom, do you want to maybe trace the history a little bit on this? Because it's gone back quite a few years, before all of our times. I know Mike Santora was involved going back 20 years ago on this. And you've had a number of conversations with the glass factory, and they've had their trucking routes voluntarily moved, but it always seems to come back that the trucks wind up on Beach Street at some point.
Yeah, and I think much of that's based in technology. You know, the fact is that they have communicated with the contractors who come to that particular plant. There are other trucks, but primarily the largest number are probably headed to that plant. And it's GPS. GPS is going to take you, however you program it, highway, and then take me to the nearest location. So it's going to bring them off of 495. And that's what it's done. They put out messages and asked them to voluntarily have them come off of 495 in Bellingham and actually work their way up through 140, which speaks to the issue of in doing the study, you have to have an alternative route that is viable. And I mean viable that you can use tractor-trailers and they can move about those roadways safely. And that's where I see the dilemma, and I think if you look at the history, where Mike Santora has seen it, and where Vonnie has seen it, and where others have seen it, it's not just, oh, we want a truck exclusion and it's done. It doesn't work that way. So, because you're dealing with interstate commerce as well. So there's federal statutes that are gonna override state statutes. And it's not I don't appreciate what the folks on, you know, the people on those streets are saying, whether it be Beach Street or Depot Street, it's where are you gonna displace it? If you're gonna work to get a truck exclusion that actually brings them off in Bellingham and then up 140 to come to the plant, you're gonna need the permission then of the town of Bellingham and the town of Hopedale, because those trucks are now coming through their communities. That's in the state law, it's in the regulations. And we saw that with the, if you remember, Holliston wanted the truck exclusion
I was gonna say that.
over on their South Street, which
Yes.
went over to Medway, and because, and although it didn't necessarily touch Milford, the fact was, it was going to, they looked at it and said, it's gonna displace those trucks and cause them to come off Route 85 and
Yes.
Route 109. And we said, no, we already have enough coming off of 85.
That's exactly what happened.
So, as a result, that never occurred. They're in that same position. If we take a look at Mellon Street, I think you all, you know the answer, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't
Mellon
know the
Street,
answer.
you know, we've wanted to rebuild that bridge just to have cars go over it, and Town of Hopedale has said, no, 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 no. And that's why we bear the brunt of the traffic that comes over Bear Hill, that goes up Depot Street, that heads over to that area of their town of
Elm
Hopedale.
Street's not accessible.
But Chief, we've not pursued Mellon Street.
Yes, we have. Oh, yes, we did for many, many years. Many years.
There was some resistance to Mellon Street.
No, I
some.
understand there's a resistance, but for the same purposes that you've talked about, there are laws that prevent communities from blocking roadways that are between communities. We've not pursued an aggressive activity to open up. At least, I've not seen anything cross my desk in 10 years.
In the time that I've been here, they throw up more roadblocks than the bridge being out.
Well, I'd like to get those memos or documentation.
You know,
I've not seen them.
they should pull it up, Billy, because it was really, there was a real effort
Yeah.
to fight anything we wanted to do. So now you come to the point of, okay, you need a viable route. That's one route. You look at town, where are you gonna send those trucks? Up Main Street, turn on South Main, and you can't loop them then onto Depot. It's not a viable route. They're gonna knock you out the door. You cannot turn onto Depot Street with a tractor trailer at this point, off of South Main. They sometimes end up down that way, I know because we end up down there and have to bring them on the wrong side of the island, a real tight squeeze up over the sidewalk. So we run into those issues. You're gonna bring them up Main Street and turn them down North Bow? So we've moved it from this street to this street. And then they would take the left on Central and go up. They're going to the plant. And you can't exclude them, even if you have a truck exclusion. If you did a truck exclusion on Depot, you can't exclude them from going to the plant. You know, under the federal law. It's interstate commerce. They have a right to go there. So when you, the only time you run into truck exclusions that are per se strict, bridges. It can't handle it. The S-turn up on Central Street. You can't swing a tractor trailer through there with a Volkswagen on the other side, let alone another car. So, as we've looked at it over the years, it's not we've ignored it, not by any stretch of the imagination. I know that engineering has done their thing. We've been involved in trying to look to see, is there another way of rerouting these trucks? And as I discussed, we've worked at, even working with the other communities and have them to come off and stay on the numbered roadways. And it's tough to get them to do it simply because of technology. And that's where we are today. It's not, we have not ignored the situation by any stretch of the imagination, so. Can I just mention one?
Yeah.
Because I know there's been a number of emails, well, it's about time the police department step up and do some enforcement. I've done speed studies on that roadway. I've dealt with noise complaints from folks that live on the roadway, and we've addressed those with some of the plants in the area. We're not ignoring anything, but to enforce truck issues, the violations aren't there. They have a right to be on those roadways. You know, loud motorcycles, I get that complaint quite a bit. You speak about tractor trailers, from that same neighborhood, I get loud motorcycles. Look, if they have the baffles manufactured within the pipes, it's illegal. You know, so that's what we have to go by. We're not ignoring anything. We're doing our best to deal with each situation and address them, and to be upfront with people.
No, I understand that, Tom, and I mean, I'm going back to speed studies that you did back in October of 2009. So I know there's been a lot of attention by your department, and by this town administrator and the previous town administrator in dealing with Verrilli or Foster Forbes or whatever it has been over the years. Vonnie, do you want to give us just a summary of what you found with the study proposals?
Sure. I was asked by this board to solicit some proposals from consultants on what it would actually cost to develop the information necessary to apply for truck exclusion through the Mass DOT and to meet all their requirements. I asked for 3 quotes from engineering consultant firms. I got 2. They are fairly different. Environmental Partners Group gave us a quote of $4,330, and Ron Mueller gave us a quote of $10,500. I compared the 2 scopes of work side by side, and the only difference I could find was that the Ron Mueller proposal said that they would actually prepare the letter that went to Mass DOT requesting the truck exclusion once all the data had been gathered. So I then asked Environmental Partners, you know, how much more that preparing the letter would be. They said about $400 or $500. So it's still significantly less. I don't know why they're so different. I do know Environmental Partners is doing work for us here in town, and that may be, you know, it may be more cost effective for them because they are doing other work for us. So those were the 2 quotes that I got. I would, if this board decided that they wanted to go ahead and do the study, which would include 24-hour, 7-day traffic counts, which would also classify the vehicles. One of the things we need to show is what percentage of overall traffic is truck traffic. They would also go through the list of requirements by Mass DOT for the truck exclusion standards and say, this applies to Milford, this applies to this particular situation. They would look at alternate routes and what would be available, and with what was available, what the issues would be there on those routes. And then they put the letter together and basically guide us through that process. So if the board wanted to proceed with that, I would recommend going with the Environmental Partners Group proposal.
Okay. Scott, is there anything you want to add at this point before we open it up for questions?
I can't remember when, I probably should have looked it up, but we did some work on Beach Street. I think it was right around when we had trouble, when we started this whole process way back 10 years ago. We did an overlay on the road, and I mean, if there's a road problem, I don't know if there is or not, without standing there all day and listening to the trucks. If there's a specific area we can target that's causing the noise or the vibrations, you know, maybe we can take that route and try to fix that, if that's what the problem, you know, is. I don't, to me, the road looks like it's smooth, I drive it every day, but then again, an empty tractor trailer can bounce where you don't expect it, you know, and make a lot of noise. So I can look into that. I mean, I can definitely keep my eye out and see what's going on in that perspective, so.
There was a question, one point a few years back, about the culverts.
Yep.
And I think your department looked at the culverts, and I think you had taken another look at them recently. Are those in
Well,
good shape?
The
Or
culverts that are on Central Street,
yes,
yeah.
because that was part of the neighbors' complaints as well.
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually, I mean, that's been paved too. That section was paved, I wanna say 7 years ago. So, I mean, I'm from being right at the barn right there all day, we never hear anything going over that section. Doesn't cause us any vibration or anything. So, I mean, all we can do is just watch and see what happens going forward from, if there's something we can fix to stop that, then we'll do it. It's not a problem. I don't know if Beach Street's ready to be torn up and repaved, it's not in bad shape, there's no potholing on it, there's nothing like that going on, so I hate to just do it for nothing. It's not gonna solve the problem, so.
Well, let me turn it over to questions. Bill?
Yeah, I'm most inclined to defer to Will. He's had the most recent communications with the neighbors, and then I can go after him if that works for you, Mr. Chairman.
Will?
Thank you. No, I appreciate, Vonnie, you doing getting the bids and everything for the truck exclusion. I'm certainly not looking for a truck exclusion if everyone in town and all of our resident experts are saying there's no place to put the trucks. I mean, to me, that's just commonsensical. So I don't want to support a truck exclusion study if we already know that the answer is, yeah, maybe there's a little bit more traffic, maybe it's causing this, that, and the other thing, but there's absolutely no place to put them or move them. So to me, that's just common sense. The second is, I just don't know how we can at least tell the neighbors that originally signed that petition that what's causing the vibration and what's causing things to fall off shelves and their pictures and things like that. And a couple have already moved because of the problem, apparently, based on correspondence in the folder that I received when I first got on the board. So I have to turn back to you guys and say, I mean, you say that, you know, if you stand down there all day and maybe hear something. I don't know if it's the sound of an empty truck. I don't know if it bouncing causes the vibrations. I know that every once in a while I get a truck on my road in a residential neighborhood subdivision, and nothing falls off the shelves, and is it because I'm further back from the road, so never mind that neighborhood's 100+ years old, mine certainly isn't. So those are the things where I was just kind of looking to get things off the checklist, saying, could it be this, could it be that? If we had a place for the trucks to go, then that would be a no-brainer. But I don't see the point of necessarily doing a study if we already know there's no place for them to go. So how do we figure out if people's, I mean, either they're not telling us the truth, or something's causing it. And I haven't brought a sleeping bag yet and thrown it on one of their floors and slept there all night. I will if I have to, but I haven't done that to actually experience whatever it is they're talking about. So I just don't know, and maybe it's as simple as what you said, that,
Some of those houses, especially on Beach Street, are right on the road. I mean, they're 4 feet off the road.
and that's it. Is it the trucks going this way, or is it just because they're that much closer to the?
It's a substantial bump, and a loaded truck could probably shake the ground enough for something that close. But I don't see anything that's causing a truck to do that, and I haven't actually.
And like you
seen
said,
it.
the road isn't riddled with potholes. It's not. I mean, it's in good condition. So I know that just from taking the walk the few times that I have and driving through there every day like I do. So that's where I'm just I just don't like not being able to give people an answer. And the fact is, you guys have done a lot of work. It's not a question of, certainly from my point of view, I've certainly never said that people haven't addressed something, or certainly you guys or the police department or whatever hasn't responded to calls and things like that. I just don't know. I just personally don't like, and I don't think any of us do, that we don't have an answer for them. And I don't know how to find that answer. And if the answer is in the end, that there's absolutely nothing we can do, and this is just the way it is. I don't like the answer, but if that's the answer, then that's the answer. But if it could be a culvert, if it could be the road, if it could be something, I just don't know how to find that out.
Or it just could be. I mean, I don't question their veracity. You know, these are people that live in their homes, they're seeing things occur.
Yep.
So I don't question their honesty and.
No, of course not, but you know what I mean. It's either
You know what
happening
I'm
or it's
saying?
not, and once we say it is
Well,
happening, how is it happening or
It may
why?
very well be happening, and
Yep.
and the question comes is, okay, why is it happening? I don't have that answer for you, and whether that's the town's responsibility or their responsibility as individuals. I mean,
No, and I think maybe
the
one
trash
group
truck
of
comes
us.
in my neighborhood, I can tell you when he's a block away, you know, because you hear him. I can tell you when he's up in my area, because, you know, they're large vehicles. You do
No,
feel
there's-
it.
No, there's no
So-
question, but
so
again, I think if that's what somebody's complaining about, then that's a completely,
Many of these homes, as Scott said, are right, I mean, they literally abut the sidewalk or the roadway. And we find that in a number of places in town.
of course.
So, I really, I don't have an answer for what the balance is. I know from our perspective in going down and looking at is, you know, are we seeing violations of the law that we should take a look at? Are the trucks doing things they shouldn't be doing?
Most of the time, probably not.
Right. And what you run into, I mean, we've done speed studies, we've done the rest, you know, some of what you face is the process, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying the process is a tough one. As you know, we looked at all the speed signs in town because they, over the years, threw speed signs up and didn't follow the law as far
Were
as
illegal, yeah.
what the state required. And of all those signs, I mean, Vonnie and I spent literally like 2 weeks driving around town, and we made recommendations, and Mass DOT said no to every single one of them, with the exception of 3, which are in a housing complex, and they're willing to put up signs that if we do the paperwork, which I'm waiting for spring, 25 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone. So that was the end result. If you remember, Town Park, 20 miles an hour, those signs weren't legal. So they're down, they're gone. The speed limit there is 30. So all I'm suggesting to you is, you know, the legislature put it in law for a reason, that they're gonna have Mass DOT oversee communities because they don't want truck exclusions. They don't want speed regulations all over communities simply because somebody asked for them. And I don't question the folks on that street that they're not feeling some bumps. Particularly, interestingly enough, I think the empty trucks cause more of a concern than the full ones. Because you get that, you know, Jake braking, you get that bouncing, you get, and when I say empty, they're not full with product. They, you know, they probably have pallets or other things in them, you know, so you get some bouncing around. That can cause noise and vibration, so. Is it the town's responsibility? That's a judgment I leave to you folks. Is it their responsibility again? I know what we've done for the past time I've been, you know,
Okay, so I guess my questions are for
14
Scott and
years.
Vonnie. Is there anywhere to go?
I got a question. Is there one specific area, that residents are
Yeah, closer to Central Street.
close to the Central Street?
I mean, some of the neighbors are complaining more than halfway up, but that's where it starts. Those are the people that have been the most vocal. And again, I just want to be able to say, there's nothing we can do, or this is what we can do, and if you can go out and figure something out and, you know, come back in a few weeks and give a recommendation, then that's something. If you've already done that and I wasn't here on the board, then that's okay too, and that's the way it is. It's just, I don't see the point of doing a truck exclusion when you folks are looking into it and there's no place for the trucks to go. If we know that, then let's just skip that step. If there's a possibility or there's some reasonable route for trucks to go, then that's great. Then let's take a chance. But if you 3 are there telling me anyway that, look, well, we'd love to do this for the residents, but there's no place for the trucks to go, then why waste our time and the money? So with enforcement and stuff off the table, and there's nothing wrong as if there's, you don't know. But
Yeah.
Well, you know, like I said, you know, going back, you know, the genesis on this with me started in '07, and a resident had sent an email to Representative Fernandez, who promptly sent it on to me, and that's when I brought it to the attention of the town administrator. The police chief became involved, the town engineer became involved. There really wasn't a highway issue at that point. And the solution was a voluntary agreement with, at that time, St. Gobain, to alleviate the truck traffic hours that people are home and sleeping, you know, to limit the truck traffic at night and those hours. And that seemed to work pretty effectively, I guess, for a number of
A good amount
years.
of time.
Until, you know, things started coming in, trying to see when the survey came, then there was well, this came in later that year, in '08, I'm sorry. So then about a year later, we got a petition, rather, that a number of residents signed indicating that the trucks were bringing a lot of noise and damage to the property, sleep deprivation, and so forth. And then we revisited the agreement with the bottling company again. So that's really pretty much the route that we've been taking on this thing from this point forward. Short of seeking a truck exclusion, I don't know what else can be done. When was that Beach Street last paved, Scott, do you know?
7.
It was around 8 to 10 years ago. I don't know the exact.
Because, I mean, it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, I would think if there's that much abuse, the road would be showing some wear and tear. But, I mean, the road itself seems, I mean, there are other roads in town that are in not as good shape as that.
There's no potholing or anything like that. I mean, if
Yeah.
there's some kind of little bump that we don't see because it's under the asphalt, you know. I mean, I'm willing to go out there and I'll stand at those culverts and just see what the trucks sound like when they go over it. You know, I did this with Mike Santoro back when we
Right.
first started. I actually walked it with him a few times.
Right.
We didn't see anything at that time. So, I mean, I'm willing to do that, or even just send an employee there for an hour or so and stand there and see what he hears, you know. Just to see if that's something we can maybe fix. I don't know.
Do you have any, Bill?
Yeah, you know, I'm glad Will went in the direction he did, because for me, I'm not wed to truck exclusion or anything. You know, I think this begins with a, you know, well-worded problem statement. And if the residents in the area are seeing, feeling, and hearing what they view as excessive noise, excessive vibration, I have to look to the engineers and the experts to say, is that the case? Right? Is it excessive? And I know it can be subjective. I don't know if there are standards. That's another engineering question. And I'm not sure whether that that vibration and that noise is different at that intersection for geological purposes, reasons, or some other reasons, what's under that ground, what the house is sitting on, or other areas where houses are also right on top of the road, like on Main Street. So here's what I'd like to hear is, what I'd like is, you know, I think in the perfect world, for town engineer, highway surveyor, to get together with the neighbors, with the folks that have the issues and complaints, and see what types of monitoring, study, or whatever can be done to see, is that more excessive or less excessive? Is there building vibration as a result of the trucks? Should the people be subjected to it? You know, I don't know. You're right. It would feel insensitive to say, okay, we can't get a truck exclusion, which I don't know is a solution anyway, and then throw up our hands. I don't know if there's a problem. I don't know how bad the problem is. I don't know how bad the problem is relative to any other area in town where trucks go by that are right on top of, you know, the roadway where the houses are. And I think what we're talking about is some measurement and some analysis. And maybe reviewing similar situations in other areas of the country where these things have been looked at before. I don't know what the solution is, but, generally when you get the right people on the right problem statement, you get the right types of solutions. And if we leave it to years where we've not identified a problem or said there isn't one, then we're going to have our community members throwing out ideas about truck exclusions or whatever, and, trying to pick something, one of the things we can't pretend, I guess, in my, quick view of this, is we can't pretend the existing route is safe. For anybody who's watched a truck try to make that right at Mazzarelli's Bakery, right, or make the left at Mazzarelli's Bakery, that is a tight intersection. So I don't know if it's their preparation coming into that, but they're most certainly driving on our sidewalks, and they're most certainly having to cut off other lanes. And Central Street is already a fear factor for me anyway. We've had, town employees get hurt on that road coming down Central Street with people pulling out. Trucks coming across that, pulling out in front of Mazzarelli's. If you're familiar with it, that's a tight intersection.
Sure is.
And they can't make that safely. God forbid anybody's ever standing near the sidewalk, because they're coming across that sidewalk nearly every time to make that right. So it's tight. It's not optimum. There may be reasons, whether it's Jake braking or whatever. Maybe there's empirical ways, I think, in which we can understand noise levels and vibration. What I just ask is we get the right people, the right engineering people with the community members, and rather than them look to solve the problem, at least quantify and understand the problem, then we can meet again. But I just don't want to stop now, where we've got everybody's attention. If, again, to Will's point, if a truck exclusion is not the thing, don't waste money on the study. I'd rather apply the money to a study that looks at vibration and sound, if that's the right thing to measure. Tell us what to measure, we'll measure it. Tell us if it's high or not. Tell if there's ways to determine whether the foundations in that area are on fill and swampland. I don't know. I could make up things, but I wouldn't even be close. That's where I think we ought to go, Mr. Chairman. It's just my suggestion.
Do you have any ideas on how we would approach any of that, I guess?
Does Environmental Partners do anything like that?
We can, I actually got an email just this evening before coming here from a woman whose firm does vibration monitoring. So we can look into that. I need a little bit of clarification from the board, though, on exactly, how far you want to go, how much you want to spend, that type of thing. I mean, we can do all kinds of soil boring studies and all kinds of stuff like that. It's going to cost a lot of money. And the question in my mind is not whether or not these people are having a problem, that they're obviously having a problem, but whether or not the cause is something that the town can fix for them. And so so my question to you is, how would you like me to proceed?
Mr. Chairman, I'd throw out a suggestion. Have you met with the residents that have these complaints, Tosca's and some of the others on that street?
I have not.
Okay. I would start there. Why don't we start there? Why don't you come back with suggestions? They can be à la carte. They can, be option A, B, C. It can be a gradual investment. It can be very little external investment and all internal resources. It can be a lot of different things. But I would say getting a feel for the problem and hearing the residents. Because if Brian, myself, the town administrator, Will, are listening, we're not equipped and skilled to be able to say, oh, now I better understand it. Okay, here's what I would do. So I would say, go down there, observe, and listen, and then come back with a recommendation. And we can look at option A, B, and C. It can, escalate to a lot of different areas. I don't know that, you want to get your recommendations after you hear and see it. and hear the residents.
Well,
First step would be to
you
see
met
what's
with the
going on.
residents, Scott, right? You met
Yeah, no
with,
problem
yeah,
doing
you met with the Toscases, right? I know,
that again.
and Chief, I know you have, right?
I've communicated with them, yes.
Yes, okay, so Bonnie might be new to this,
And I did a site walk. I have
Okay.
looked at it myself.
right,
And I reviewed the file, which is this
I know.
thick of what was already done before.
right, right. And this problem, by the way, with trucks is not endemic to Beach Street.
No, that's not the only intersection where
Be-
trucks
Being
go
an
up on the
individual,
sidewalk.
being an individual who's at a building that's been hit by trucks 3 to 4 times. So, don't tell me about dangers to trucks on streets. And Beach Street isn't the only street, you know, in Milford where it's difficult for trucks to maneuver. Okay, so do you want to meet with the resident?
If I can get names and addresses, I will contact
I
them.
Sure.
can help you coordinate
Rick
that.
has
and
it.
Set that up,
Yeah,
yeah.
They've got a petition, so they have their names and
I've got a
addresses.
list of
yeah,
names and
so we can do that, and, I mean, I think it's gonna be what they've communicated to us in the paperwork, but maybe by talking to them, you can draw something else out. I know what your point is, Vonnie, you know, we could do a vibration analysis. I don't know what the standards are, I mean, when Mike Santora talked about that a number of years ago, the problem he saw with that was there were no standards to go by, whether, you know,
Right.
this vibration is good and it goes over that level, it's bad. And even the larger question, towards what end? So, I mean, if there is a vibration, then what gets done about it? I don't know what's into this field, so, why don't you take it one step at a time, see if you can arrange a meeting with the residents, get a sense as to what, you know, their direct problems are, and then maybe you can focus some different ideas for this board at a later date. Is that okay?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it
you're
works for
thinking
me,
about?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time on this very difficult problem. Appreciate all your effort. Okay, that concludes the scheduled appointments. We have the town administrator's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wi-Fi access at Town Hall. Pleased to report, we now have a stable and reliable Wi-Fi internet access at Town Hall. I'm told we're receiving an excellent signal on the first and second floors. The upper Town Hall, not quite as strong. We do now have a guest side and a corporate side. The guest side only has access to internet, and we will be providing the way to access the guest side to anybody who is here. Hopefully, how's the signal? Good? Okay. So I'm happy to report that World Band, along with Andy, have helped implement that. So it's a nice step, I think, for us. The second thing I want to report on is the Finance Department reorganization. If you've been to Town Hall, you know we've now completed the reorganizing of the Municipal Finance Department. We now have separate treasurer and benefits departments. We have relocated each office. The Benefits Department is now combined with the Retirement Office and has a new telephone number, which is 508-634-2301. The Benefits Department will now be handling all benefit and new hire paperwork. The Treasurer's Office will be in charge of handling all AP, payroll, and cash management transactions. The final item I'd like to report on is the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP program. Mass DOT, I believe Friday, released the updated Transportation Improvement Program. The Route 16 from Water Street to the Hopedale Town Line project is on the list to be funded in fiscal year 2019. Is possible it could be moved up. The project is estimated to cost $5.4 million. We have completed the 25% design. We need to complete the design of the project in the next year or so that it's ready to bid once the funds are made available. I believe the highway surveyor is preparing a town meeting article, not for May, but for October, to help us with that. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions, Bill?
Yeah, that TIP program for Route 16, from where to where was it? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, that was from Water Street to the Hopedale Town Line, including the hospital intersection, which will be greatly improved.
It's going to finish off the prior state project.
Does that include the intersection at the hospital, 140 as well?
Yes, that's going to be probably one of the major focal points as far as widening so that ambulances don't get caught behind in traffic and the like, yes.
Okay. And then the only other point I noticed, I just happened to notice through the warrants, and I wanted to call attention to it for the board members, if they didn't know. And Rick, this is just to call out and congratulate you on your work for the supervisory leadership program that you're attending. You know, I know that it's part of the MMA program, and I just think it's a great idea, and I know you're taking personal time, and it's not easy to add more work to your schedule, but I think that's a great idea, and I just wanted to congratulate you on that. I just happened to see it in the warrant, so.
Yes, we had to pay for it.
Yeah, right, right. It's not free like anything else, right? But no, well worth it, well worth it. And I hope you get good things from it.
Thank you.
I don't have anything more, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, Rick, my only question was on the Transportation Improvement Program. Is that the one that we were in Boston for?
Yes, if you
Also,
remember that.
that's come to fruition
that's
already?
finally-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one I think you spoke
Yeah.
at, John, Representative Fernandez spoke at.
Okay, great.
I believe Vonnie was there also.
That's good turnaround,
Yes.
relatively speaking.
Yeah,
wow.
and if we can get the design going, and if it's a chance to move up, then we would obviously avail ourselves of that.
And we would own acquisition costs, as with other TIP programs, I think, right?
Yes, yeah.
Owned
But
acquisition.
that is the one, Will, yes.
All right, great, thank you.
It's a continuation of the program
initial
that was
project.
done
Yep.
previously. And I think the state felt bad that they couldn't go to 140.
Okay.
So I don't know how things work
Hopefully
in
just a
there,
different
but I think
stage.
it got accelerated.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if at the end of
Yeah.
the day, the plan would include things like, dedicated turn lanes at the hospital, so, it's safer.
We'll have to see what the particulars
Right,
are.
right.
But, first. it's
Hopefully
big-
it
First,
does.
it's big picture, so then.
One of
it
the
goes to next
focuses is
step.
the intersection, that
Yeah.
Yeah.
intersection,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's great, good work.
Widening and the like, yeah.
Okay, with that, let's move on to old business. Rick, you've got a memo on a junior building custodian.
Yes, I provided you a memo regarding, as you know, we're seeking a junior building custodian for the youth center. It was advertised in the Daily News, posted on the website. Deadline submission was February 12th. We received 33 applications for the position. Maintenance Supervisor Carlos Benjamin and myself reviewed the applications. We narrowed them down to 5, what we believe qualified candidates who were then interviewed for the position. I do want to say that 2 of the 5 after being interviewed, but prior to our making the selection, withdrew their names for, one received a better offer at another job, and the other one for personal reasons. So after the interviews, Mr. Benjamin and I are recommending Paulo D'Souza for the position. He currently works as a night custodian, a substitute night custodian at Milford High School. So in that position, he's performed all of the required duties and responsibilities, cleaning, sweeping, washing floors, changing light bulbs, shoveling snow, operation of machinery and equipment. He also, in speaking with him in the interview, is able to perform minor repairs that may be required at the youth center. We did receive a nice reference for him, and I highlighted in my memo, he's described as reliable, responsible, dependable. Therefore, again, we had many highly qualified candidates. It was tough to get to 5. We then got to 3, and this is the recommendation I would be making for the board to consider. If you do approve of the recommendation, I would request that the position be placed at grade 2, step 1, where it is currently graded, and the starting hourly rate would be $17.91. And I would request that he be allowed to begin working 1 week from today, which would be March 14th of this year. And that's about all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Questions, comments?
No, it sounded like you had highly qualified candidates right to the end with the 3 remaining. I also looked through the resumes, and for different reasons, but similar to yours, Rick, where in at least 2 occasions we had custodial people working for the town.
Yes.
Wanting to go into that position. Transferable skills most certainly, right? Background and references exist. And, I appreciate the tough position you're put in to interview 33 candidates, get it down, or not interview 33 candidates, but take 33 candidates, whittle it down to 3, and I can appreciate the situation you were in trying to get to 1. But with that in mind, I've received recommendations from, and I think the board members have them as well, from Paul Braza, Nancy Angelini, Paul Tamani, and Steve Gerard. And it is for the candidate, Mark Venziano, who also happens to be a custodian, and security for the Milford Public Schools. And it's with that in mind and the references from people are well regarded in the community, that I would be making a motion for that candidate tonight, but I'll let the other members weigh in and provide their thoughts.
Will?
Yep, I'm pulling that up. I mean, I would definitely vote for Mark. I'm caught off guard, but that, I would definitely vote for Mark, and I know him and his family personally, and I think he would do a great job.
Well, I don't know any of these individuals.
Yeah, it helps when you know them. I've known the Venziano family and Mark for over 20 years.
I mean, I think the only thing that, we don't have recommendations from the individuals you named. They're listed as references, but there's no recommendation unless there's something that I didn't get included in my package. Were there letters
No,
of
you have
recommendations?
everything about the 5 candidates
Okay,
that was
so
submitted.
the only recommendation I
us.
have is from Carla Tuttle for the recommended applicant, Paulo D'Souza. So that's an actual recommendation. The other names you cited are listed as references, but
Right.
not necessarily recommendations.
And I've also had the and I don't know, one of the things I'm not aware of is whether the people that call me are necessarily calling all members of the board as well, making recommendations moving forward too. So, we hear from different people as you do, as probably Will does, I'm guessing, for recommendations, and, that's part of the process as
Well,
well.
I didn't hear any recommendations from
Okay.
these people.
All right.
No, so I don't know if Venziano, I mean, if he's a friend of yours or whatever, that's okay. but
No, not a friend. I mean, I've known them, so,
it's
for a
a
number of
custodian
years.
Position.
Yeah,
I would,
and he's a current custodian.
I would prefer to follow the process and go along with the recommendation of the town administrator, who had the opportunity to review the resumes along with the maintenance supervisor, Carlos Benjamin, and this is the recommendation that they put forth, with the only letter of reference that we have before us, which is Carla Tuttle. So I would be looking to support Carlos, this individual's, I'm sorry, I'd be willing to support Paulo D'Souza.
All right, why don't we do it in the, if
wanna
you're
make a motion,
so
make a
inclined,
motion.
yeah, we'll do it in the form of motions and see which one carries, because I don't know what the outcome is. But I'd like to make a recommendation for current school custodian, Mark Venziano, for the position of junior building custodian for the Milford Youth Center, and realizing that, in talking with Rick, they were very close and down to the last 3. I'm comfortable moving forward with that motion.
No, and I'm definitely seconding it. I'm certainly not going to vote against Mark. So I wholeheartedly second it.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's 2-1, I'm opposed. Next item that we have is the MWRTA, and we have very good news that the town administrator brought to our attention. And we have the good work of Harold Rhodes to thank for this. Received correspondence, pleased to inform the town of Milford that Chenal 6 Grants Committee has approved the town of Milford's proposal for a fixed-loop route public bus transportation service in Milford. Voted to approve the request for $75,000 contingent upon funding approved by the town in this grant year. If funding is not secured for the remainder of the cost of the fixed-loop route public transportation service by the end of the calendar year, the current year Chenal 6 funds will not be dedicated for this purpose. So, very good job, Harold. You did a great job with that grant application. Great thanks go to Ellen Friedman and all of the, I think it was a steering committee that handled it through the Chenal program. That's certainly a significant financial allocation, and I would hope that it makes this board's decision a lot easier tonight as to whether or not to at least place this on the warrant to keep the process moving along, to hopefully allow town meeting to decide whether or not we would be having public transportation in the town of Milford. So let me turn it over to the board. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It certainly does make it somewhat easier, and everybody understands the difference between grants and long-term operational costs. The grant, as Brian said, does make decisions easier in that it helps ease the pain and take away some of the first-year operational hit. That's what we can be assured of. And I just also want to make sure that Kevin Rudden, sitting over there too, while he's covering it from a reporter standpoint, also participated. No, he didn't? I thought he did. No? Okay, sorry. I know you were familiar with the Chenal grant and process, sorry.
No.
Okay.
Resigned before the process.
Okay, all right. So you were on it, so that was my mistake. But that said, you know, I think we're getting somewhere, and I think we're getting to a point where at least I'll talk about myself. I'm extremely excited about the opportunity for intra-bus service within the town of Milford. I know we don't necessarily know or have to know at this point exactly where all those locations are or where all those stops are. But I'm excited about that opportunity. I'm actually less excited about some of the interconnection between Milford and Framingham, and I can explain that in a minute. But I think there's some components, and I think we're still a long ways off. So I'm supportive of a town meeting article. I just, between now and when we would have to decide whether we're going to pass over, I'll talk about some of the things I think we need to get.
Harold, why don't you come up here, please?
So,
Yeah.
I would have put on my good sweatshirt.
You good? You get a good picture.
it looks fine.
And I should say, we have Carl and another representative from the MWRTA here too. I don't know if you wanted to come up also to see if there's anything that you might be able to address.
And let me also mention that Pat Morrell from the Housing Authority, Milford Housing Authority is here with us.
Okay.
And Siobhan Bunsen from the Chamber of Commerce is here with us tonight.
Okay.
Yes, both been very supportive of this proposal. We appreciate your support very much.
And so I'm equally supportive.
Notepad out to take your note?
Rick will, I'm
Okay.
sure,
Got
remind me
minutes.
of everything I need to do.
So I think it's extremely important that we get feedback from our town departments and boards.
Yes.
And I think I'd like it structured so that it's just not freewheeling verbiage that comes back to us, but really I'm thinking about three things. What are the opportunities that each of the boards and departments see with respect to a intra-town bus service? And I think they have to be given a little bit more information. So opportunities, what are the potential risks associated with that, or potential unintended consequences that we may not be realizing right now? And then third, what I'd like to see them do is get on the solution side to say how that department might consider mitigating that risk. Because, and there may be small things. I'll give you an example of one that Harold and I have talked about, and it's just hypothetical, right? If fixed bus locations create an additional burden for highway and snow removal, as an example, there may be a piece of equipment we're not thinking about today, and whether it's a small brush attachment or something else, but they're going to certainly have to restructure the thought process and when these bus locations are clear and safe, where they wouldn't have to have worried about that in past years. So I'd like to hear what the highway department says, and maybe it's a $5,000 brush attachment that we haven't thought of, and that's the difference. I don't know, I don't want to pretend to understand the highway. That's just one example. Maybe there are impacts to school. Maybe those impacts are far more positive than they might be negative, and maybe the negatives are easily remedied and mitigated. I think, so personally, I think it's important to get specific, all the town feedback on that, and just what the opportunities this presents, what the risks that are presented, and how they might mitigate that risk. The other thing is, I think we heard the warnings last week regarding budget. Our budget's not finalized. So to say whether or not we can afford this, an example that, you know, we might accuse our finance department and our FinCom of being ultra-conservative. The budget number that they presented last week for the school department said less than 3.5%. Currently, the school department is not at that budget figure. It's higher than that. And that we know that the warning was if they came in 0.5% higher, the anticipated available funds weren't going to be realized. So we've got to firm up our budget, and I think there's more work to do. We've requested, and I haven't seen yet, what the dates are for information sessions. I think that's important to get, we said last meeting, updated the meeting minutes to reflect that we'd look for 2 more information sessions. I think that's helpful. Harold, since I think the last meeting, I've had an opportunity, thank you for pointing me to the right link where the last session was held. I had an opportunity to review that hour-and-a-half session, I think it was, and that was helpful.
Bill, let me just say that if the board so votes to include this on the warrant for now, we'll go ahead and schedule the next 2 sessions to occur during April and May, April and early May. And I've had discussions both with the hospital and with the citizens from Milford to do that. Now we will firm up those dates, times, and locations. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. So I've talked a little bit about all the budget. I think Zach made himself clear. Town department feedback. I know Rick and I had talked about that. I didn't know if that process was started or we're waiting for this discussion. The other thing is I've not seen what a contract would look like. So I want to make sure I understand a contract with the MWRTA, what typical parameters would look like. Number of years, escalating costs. Could it be $250 one year, $280 the next, and $300? I don't know. So I wanted to get an understanding of how much of that is fixed, how much of that is based on fuel, how much of that is. I'd like to see that because I'd like to understand what a contract looks like.
Let me follow up with the MWRTA on getting a proposed contract, if we were to go forward, what that contract would look like.
Right, and I'm guessing that our appropriation, we would look to seek to have the Board of Selectmen in that contract negotiation, but there are parameters that would be a standard or proposed that I think we can look at ahead of time, not enter into
Yes.
agreements or negotiation, because I don't want to do that ahead of town meeting.
Kyle, do you have contracts with member towns?
We don't, only because Milford is a unique situation.
Yeah, it is.
All of the member towns that we have get the assessment from the MBTA. Milford does not, so you're sort of at the disadvantage.
We have one other town, is it Marlboro that does it as well?
Hudson.
Hudson,
Okay.
but they do not have a fixed route. They're not even thinking of a fixed route at this moment.
Okay.
So it's a unique model, and I think since this is coming right off the top of local aid, I think competitively with respect to other towns, it puts us at a disadvantage. I think you understand our feelings, and Representative Fernandez has been clear on that. Looking to be in the catchment area, there needs to be some structure as to what we're gonna receive, how we're gonna receive it, and then where escalation comes in and for what reasons. Is it fixed for 3 years, fixed for 5 years? How much does it vary? I don't know, right?
I think that would be an agreement between the town and the MWRTA.
Okay.
Brian has an advantage over the 2 of you because of the fact that the position that he sits on the board, he can deal directly with Ed Carr, the administrator.
Yep.
If one of you 2 decide that you want to take over that role next year and being the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I mean, that's the advantage that the chief executive officer of each individual town has. I couldn't do any negotiating for you in any way. This
No, and I don't
comes
want to negotiate, just.
from Ed and from our council.
So let me just, Bill,
Proposal,
conclude that by saying, over the next 2 weeks before the next selectmen's meeting, we will ask the MWRTA to propose a draft agreement that we can begin to review, okay?
And it was gonna be a 1 year. Just a 1 year. That's what we
So
talked about.
so we know what 1 year
The-
is.
The grant
for
is every
cost.
year too.
No, I understand, but I'm saying, a grant aside, what are we contracting for? Is there a potential to have a multi-year agreement, and then we can at least tell the community the types of things we're thinking
Well,
about?
you can word the agreement any way you want, but, yeah.
'Cause I'm hoping once we get it, we can build from there, right?
Well, I mean, you can word the agreement how you want, I mean, it can automatically roll over. But I think from the town's perspective, you wanna review this thing at least yearly. You don't wanna be locked into something that we don't even know about.
Agreed,
Yeah,
agreed.
So that's what the idea is.
What parts are flexible, what parts, okay,
that's what-
so let's get an understanding
We'll
of what
work
that
through all
is.
those things.
And you know what I'd also like to understand is what the possibility of, because let me just be clear, I'm very much in favor of an intertown bus system. I think it has the benefits of helping employers, helping employees, helping seniors, helping a great deal of people with disability. But I'm not necessarily enthusiastic about opening up a wider pipe or a greater link to Framingham, and that troubles me a little bit. I don't want, I don't want Milford to necessarily be the little Framingham of the bus service. And with that, what I'm wondering, is there a possibility that we can create links, and this is part of the discussion, with the Ashland train station and the Franklin train station? Is there anything that precludes or prohibits that aspect of it? Because from there, people can get to their VA benefits in Boston. They can get to a great many places, but I don't necessarily want to open up more buses necessarily to come in through Framingham. It's not a great desire of mine
I
personally.
think it's like it's the same concept as the MBTA. Once you're into the loop, you can access all of the benefits.
Okay, so if we
I
had.
mean, the T, I mean, you don't, you can't, go to South Station and say, oh geez, I can't go to Harvard or something.
No, I'm talking about buses versus train.
Well, I mean, it's the same concept, it's the same, they have the same concept, whether it's buses or not. That once you access the MWRTA system, you have the benefit of the entire system.
Right.
Well, no, there's no question with that. The only thing that where you said something about Ashland, one thing I do know, very few Milford people go to Framingham anymore. We all of us who've been riding the commuter rail for 20 years started in Framingham because there wasn't any other place to go, and then they went to Franklin.
It's actually Southborough.
It's
Ashland.
the majority of Milford people, especially on certain ends of town, are going to Southborough. I see about 20 Milford people a day every morning in Ashland, and then still a large group go from Franklin. And if you certainly live on the 495, 109 side of town, you're jumping on 495 and you're going to Franklin. But majority of people from Milford aren't going to Framingham anymore. So that's the only thing that when you said Ashland, that jumped in my head. Now, I guess if you're taking a bus to and from a certain area, one can argue it probably doesn't matter where you're getting on, but it also matters where your trains are, where your expresses are. A lot of us go to Ashland because you can jump on a number of trains and they're 45 minutes. If you go to Franklin, the express trains are 60, 65 minutes. So I save myself 20, 25 minutes of commuting time by going to Ashland.
But if you cut across town, and this is what I've heard from some people, if you cut across town, to your point, I might lose the 15 minutes. And so the question is really,
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not.
But we can talk about
we're
that.
not
I don't wanna
here
do
to
the mechanics.
Map out the road
No,
or
no, no.
anything, and this is not just a bus to a train, I mean, it's a transportation system
understand.
revolving around buses, so I mean, at this particular point, without getting into the details of this, I wanna know if we can just get this thing on the warrant, and then we can schedule future meetings to go over these kinds of things.
Mr. Chairman, all I wanted to say is that you have my support for moving on to a warrant, but the things that I hope to talk about, and we all, I think, come from different focal points, the things I want to talk about prior to town meeting are the routes.
Yes.
Because I've received over 130 emails. So either, Harold, you've been very busy, or people are paying attention, or both. And it's been a long time since I've received that much correspondence. And it took me, on today's train ride, to finish responding to everybody. So,
And let me apologize to both the other two selectmen for probably receiving the same number of emails for that.
and I've also, and the other thing I want to talk about is about the routes is, I've heard from quite a few elderly folks that live on Purchase Street, going all the way up to the Hopkinton Town line. And a couple of them did attend the one in the forum at the senior center, and they just kind of said, geez, there isn't a place for us. So I just want to see, it's a big
that's
town,
fine.
so I think
And-
that's
and-
the
and that's
stuff
fine. We-
that I would like to concentrate on going forward.
And we haven't even been able to get to that level
Right.
of detail, really. I mean, that was a proposal put forth to just generally
Right, but that's what
introduce
people
everybody
saw,
to the
so that's what I've
concept.
been telling them.
Yeah.
But when people first see it or saw the picture in the paper or something, they think that that's the route.
That was-
Regardless of how it was
yeah.
presented, because it wasn't
Yeah.
presented that way.
That was always the danger.
That's how people perceived it. And we knew that, we talked about that.
We talked about that.
It's a
Will, Bill, as the chairman said, we'll have ample opportunity between now and town meeting to come to agreement on all of these details, okay?
Okay, and I just think it would have been unfair for the vote to simply be about placing the article on the town meeting without saying the types of things that are still unknown and need to be addressed, at least from different members. So that, otherwise, we're surprising you. And I know there's no surprise to these things. You and I have talked
Yeah.
about these 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Right, so no surprise to you, no surprise to Rick, no surprise, and I just wanted to make sure it was,
Certainly.
the discussion was had in front of other board members. A budget's not firm, want to hear from town departments, need a couple of info sessions, need to look at what a contract would look like, and would like to explore the opportunity to get to Framingham, to get to Franklin and the Ashland South Road train station via the T's there, and give people the opportunity to work in Boston, go get veterans services from that, and not necessarily get more buses going between Milford and Framingham. That was my thinking, I just wanted to say that, and if there isn't much more discussion, maybe we can second for discussion, the idea of placing the transportation proposal on the town meeting warrant. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay,
Happily second that.
okay, motion made and seconded to put an article in the town meeting to seek funding for the MWRTA. Any further discussion? Not, and we will be meeting with the Finance Committee Wednesday night, so a lot of these issues will come up that night also.
Kyle's gonna be in attendance, correct, Kyle? Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be good. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Al, thank you. Harold,
Thank you, Harold. Good
see you.
work. Good work.
Carl, nice
Good
to
work.
see you. All right,
Good work,
thank you.
thanks for everything.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you coming.
Okay, do we have any other old business, Bill?
No, I don't have anything on my notes,
Do
Mr.
you have
Chairman.
anything, Will?
I do. Real quick, sorry, folks. Rick, I know you and I have talked about obviously the flags at the police department quite a few times.
Yeah,
And you had brought up last meeting about the town meeting warrant that the police chief's the article that the town
We
meeting.
have included that work within the scope of that article. It's gonna be another $2,200.
Okay, I thought that's what you had said, $2,200. Is there any way that we can get that fixed sooner and then transfer the money once town meeting
I would have to look
approves?
into that particular budget, and I could let you know on that.
Because if not, and I know we talked about it in your office, so I just want to say that I know we can ask, and I can certainly ask you to either direct our facilities director or the police chief to see that the flags go down and come back up.
Right.
Because it's really turning into an issue, and rightfully so, as we've discussed. So if there's something that we can do to fix it faster and then transfer the money, I certainly would appreciate that. I would hope all of us would. And if not, then unless there's a specific issue with those flagpoles, because now even a couple of the policemen that have served have said something. So they were very happy that we're discussing it and trying to address it. But if we don't have to wait a couple more months, it'd probably be best.
Okay. Let me take a look at that, yep.
Is that it?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
my comment on that. Flag protocol is important. It's important to a lot of people. It's not just important to the veterans. It's been out a while. That light's been out a while, and our flags continue to fly unlit. You're right, Will. We don't have to follow, in order to follow good flag protocol, we don't have to have the flagpoles lit. They just have to go up and go down. having lived on a great number of military bases, I saw that happen on a frequent basis, daily, where people would stop and salute the flag when it came down and when it went up. So I agree with you. If we just follow flag protocol, if it's not lit, we take it down and bring it up. The other thing is with the $2,200, I don't know why, for minor things like this, we have to wait until the next appropriation at the town. So we're telling people who are calling us about our flags and whatnot that we have to wait for $2,200. So let me just say this. I'd like to make a proposal that we utilize the biomeasure TIF, which I think there's a balance of about $60,000 in. I think we can come up with $2,200 in our budget, and I'm not even being creative. We have a $100 million budget, $2,200 to fix the lights on the flagpole. Doesn't seem that hard to do. I know there are other things that need to be done for safety, but I want to address this, and I want to address it pretty quick. So that would be my motion, to use $2,200 of the, $2,200 safe?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's the number I heard you say, so.
I have a
I
quote.
said what you said.
Quotes it at 2,200.
Okay, if the
That's
quote's
just to
it,
fix the lighting,
fix the lighting.
That's,
not the stairs.
Right,
or-
right.
no,
Just
this
fix
is
the lighting.
just the
Just-
issue with
just
the
get the
flag
lighting.
component, not the rest of the lighting.
And you did a great job of incorporating that in. It's
Part of the
just,
article.
no, I don't even know about this, so that,
Yeah.
if that's a possibility, I will second that.
Yeah, I'd like to, well, I made the motion. If it's seconded, that's great, but we should be able to get this done pretty short order without an act of Congress or
That's not a
anything
problem.
else. Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess, and I'm sure you both understand, there's only so many dollars in the
Oh,
maintenance
absolutely.
and repair count, and that I suppose that we've reached the end, or maybe the chief doesn't want to go any further, so.
Well, Rick and I talked
mean,
about that, and
if you-
he's getting real close, so this makes sense.
We could at the end of the year, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So you,
Let
okay.
me,
you go-
I mean, could I look there first, and then if not, the biomeasure?
Sure.
Would that be
Yeah,
acceptable
that's
to the
fine.
board?
Sure,
That's fine.
sure, that's not a problem. So
fine.
you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Okay, so, unless funds can be found otherwise in the budget, the town administrator is
Authorized.
authorized to expend up to $2,200 from the biomeasure account to fix the lights at the police station.
Okay.
Okay?
And I think I heard in the meantime,
Okay.
as part of that, I want to make sure that until we get the flags lit, that they're coming down and going up at the appropriate times, just so we're following flag protocol.
Yeah, all right, do you want to make that part of the motion? or
I
is
do,
that just-
I do. We just, because it hasn't been happening and we need to do it.
Okay,
Okay, so the police personnel will have to make sure the flags are
we can coordinate.
taken down
Okay.
at, what's it, it's darkness, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sunset?
sunrise, sunset.
Yeah. Do you have all of that, Gene? The gist of it? Yeah, it's kind of a long one.
She's good.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. You're all set with old business, right? You're all set?
Yep.
New business. John Flynn Fiesta Shows, the Carnival permit. And we have a license application.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about doing later, but I didn't realize there were that many.
Most importantly, we have a correspondence from the police chief, and he has examined all of the standards within the responsibility of the police department under the carnival permitting, and every one of those standards have been met. It's a good sign. And the most important standard is the location. And you've got it in the Kmart parking lot, or the former Kmart parking lot, I don't know what it is now. And I would say congratulations to you, because you're gonna be probably the last carnival in Milford. I don't know that there's gonna be another location that's going to, satisfy everything as well as that location does. And, the developer's looking to change that spot, so it's not gonna be the same. So it'd be difficult to envision another spot. But I apologize for having you sit here so long, because everything, to me, seems in order. So I don't really have any questions for you, other than to wish you the best of luck with your fundraiser.
Thank you.
You turn it over to the board, Bill?
Yeah, for clarity, there's a carnival request for a memorial school PTO as a fundraiser to go in the former Kmart parking lot. As Brian indicated, the police chief has said all the conditions are met. And additionally, we got a memo from the fire chief who said, as usual, there would be some site inspections to make adjustments as necessary, and I think you understand some of the concerns. You can get that ahead of time. In addition, there are some things that the chief had respectfully requested the Board of Selectmen to require, and that is on page 3 as it relates to details, begins on page 3 and goes through page 4. That we want to just make sure that it's written and clear to the folks what the requirement is for details. But I also support what you're doing, appreciate the fact this is very, very difficult to raise funds for a PTO, and coming up with new and creative ways to do that. We know you meet, we know you care, and so I appreciate what you're doing. Site plan was sufficient for the experts to understand it, and they know what their concerns are from this board and the community. So I couldn't possibly come up with anything new. So I'm in favor and supportive.
Well,
I'll echo those comments. You guys have been here late enough, so.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was actually just going to make a motion so they can get out of here.
Okay. Yeah, you're aware of the police details, I know.
John Flynn, president of
Yeah.
Fiesta Shows. Upon, if it is approved tonight by the board, I would then go in front of Naturally Inspectional Services, Building Department, Health Department, the Wiring Department, arrange for details with the chief, and also arrange for arrange for details and inspections from the fire chief, subject to your approval.
Good.
And the state, naturally, Department of Public Safety, who comes out.
You have the dates, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Motion?
I'd like to make a motion to support to approve the application for Fiesta Shows, April 7th through 17th of 2016.
Motion made and seconded.
The only question I have related to that, I have a note that says April 10th through the 17th, so is it 7th or 10th?
The application says 7, correct?
It's the 7th.
I see April 7th to the 17th, those days.
Okay,
you're
so
looking
on the
at?
app, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. This is in the memo, Rick, you had sent to regarding the cover letter. So the app says the 7th.
Okay, that's
I'll
just
second
the
the motion.
typo from-
Okay,
The app says the 7th, yeah.
okay, so
That's
I'll
what-
second that
It is
motion.
the 7th.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you very much, guys.
What are we gonna do when the parking lot goes?
I don't know, it's gonna be tough having a carnival once that place goes.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item that we have is a request to use Louisa Lake and the Upper Charles River Trail as a rest stop for the bicycling event Breaking AIDS Ride. And they did it last year, and it looks like they're looking to do it on Friday, September 23rd, 2016. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I think the police chief, if I get this right, that's the police chief's signature on their application, their form.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
He
good.
has inspected the route. and-
Yeah, and they've done it
He's in
before.
agreement. Yep.
So, yeah, I'll make a motion to support that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. You have proposed Article 3 in front of you, reflecting a 2% increase for full-time elected officials and a 1% increase for all other elected officials.
Moved.
Motion? Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And received notification from the finance director that we are into deficit spending for snow and ice. $9,763.45.
My understanding of this, Mr. Chairman, is that they need a recommendation, approval from the Board of Selectmen, including the FinCom, to continue spending, continue deficit spending on snow and ice as they have in past years, but they need that authorization. So I'd make a motion to approve that deficit spending for snow and ice.
Would never say no to that.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Even with the weather we've had.
Unless we have a motion to prevent all snow and ice.
Yes. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. And then we have an add-on. I don't know if the board wants to address it. Received a request from Attorney Pettinari representing a client for a zoning article amendment to be placed on the warrant for the May town meeting to allow retail uses in the office residential zone by special permit. And this was sent to us on Saturday. I think all we have to do is send it on to the,
Just need to forward it, that's all.
Forward it to the planning board?
Yes, since, yeah, it's not initiating from them, yep.
So is
And
that
who would
just-
be the sponsor?
Again, we could,
I think, well,
I couldn't tell if it was a
well, it's proposed.
citizens
It's
petition.
proposed from Attorney Pettinari representing a client on a zoning article amendment for the town meeting.
Does that make Attorney Pettinari the
be the individual.
The individual could be, it could be the attorney, could be either or,
okay, representing him?
or it could be,
So
it could be this board.
Selectmen could also,
I'm just trying to get my arms around what we're voting on.
Well, it's a request to change the zoning bylaws to allow retail uses in the office residential zone by special permit. That's what the request
town
is.
planner worked on this very quickly for us. This was the best solution.
Rick, is this the Water Street
Yes,
market?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is probably, I mean, that's been retail since it was
It seems to
Dufferin's
make a lot of
Pharmacy
sense,
and
I
everything.
think.
So did that get, so was, zoning was changed, so, or was that never retail space, that block?
I don't know what that was zoned originally. This
But now-
this
It was
encompasses.
OR.
But this would take care of it, because I mean, there's a retail store there now.
This would take care of that, so they could,
There was a pharmacy there that did retail, right?
Pre-zoning,
Well,
I'm
there
sure.
was a pharmacy, yes, but right, I think that was before we adopted the residential zone, office residential
OR
zone.
zone, yeah.
OR zone. If you remember, that was kind of an overlay to the Main Street area.
Right.
To,
But one of the negative effects of that is we took what was previously commercial property and zoned that use out for the old Davern's Pharmacy and the meat market there. Is that right?
I don't know that to be the case. I think at that time, the property
be
was
retail.
vacant. That property was vacant for a long time. I think it was vacant when that,
Yeah, so this is looking at the meat market. It's that and the building next door.
Correct.
It's just that block.
I guess my point is, the meat
No,
market is
no, this
currently
is-
retail. Okay, that's what I want to
no, this is
understand.
the entire office residential zone. You
yes,
can't-
yeah, no, it,
can't
this
have
is.
spot zone.
Can't
It's
spot
not
zone.
No, that's what I mean. No, I know that. I know it starts there. I just don't know where it goes or if that's the end of it. That's why I wasn't sure. But it's those buildings that they're talking about,
It'd be
right?
the OR
Could
district,
look right there.
the OR district.
Could look right there on the map. I guess the question is, because I know last time the board didn't want to deal with an add-on. I don't know if you want to deal with it at this point, or if you want to wait till the next meeting.
Oh, is
That's the only issue I
there
see.
anything time sensitive to it?
I
Oh, if you're
believe
gonna get on the
so.
warrant.
I believe so, because the planning board needs to have a public hearing on it. and
Yeah.
I'm not sure what their day's requirement is prior
Wait
to
till
the
the
town
21st, you will
meeting.
not be able to make the planning board hearing requirements. Remember, we have the sign bylaw too, so we can.
Yeah, last time it was a sign on a dead-end street and please don't block the driveway. I don't know, how do the board members feel, because
Well, to
this
be-
is time sensitive.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I mean, I want to support it for a couple of things. There's someone doing business in town, and I think that it should, at this point, it is time sensitive, because if they're doing any work to that area, if they wait till October, then they're pretty much at the start of winter to do any construction, and I think that's when technically government can get in the way of progress, so I would like to, I will support it, I would like it supported. And I think then it's up to town meeting, and it's for them to make their case.
Do you want to make a motion? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not sure, I guess I'm making a motion to,
Just move it to send off to the planning board for hearing and to include it in the warrant.
Yes.
okay, I'll make a motion that we pass it on to the planning board, and
On the warrant.
so it's
Yeah.
on the warrant.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had a problem dealing with stuff as it comes before us. I've done it for years.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. I'm sure the business owners will be very happy. Other items of correspondence that we have, please, like I had talked about before, keep in mind the sign bylaw article that's going forward. The planning board did make a revision. One of them was a suggestion that I made in terms of the signage inside athletic facilities. So again, we're gonna be co-sponsoring this article. I'm not sure when their public hearing is scheduled for, but if you have any other changes that you want, please get that to the planning board ASAP.
Just to comment on the two changes that I saw that made sense to me, right? I want to see balloons be part of a sign bylaw, and the removal of that made sense, and it makes sense to have signs that can't be viewed from the neighborhood externally, that are inside the perimeter of a fence, not facing outward, not part of it either, so it makes sense.
Yes, and I didn't have anything to do with the balloons, but it was the signs in the facility that I had given them a little bit of thought on. Okay, so that's just for informational purposes. We also have Vonnie's monthly status report. Again, just covers an awful lot of area in terms of what she does. And she's just been an invaluable resource with the Youth Center renovation project, dealing with problems on an everyday basis. So I really want to thank her for the work that she's done for the town. And I think that's all we have.
I have one item of
Yes.
correspondence.
Yes.
I know we received a letter from Harold, and I wanted to somehow make sure that there's a path forward from that letter to how we might develop a future process. And so what I'm hoping is that Harold's letter and Harold's concerns that we received, that Rick looked to find a way to broker that understanding between key members of our community, people that are part of our Disabilities Commission and inspections and planning, so that what I've seen are memos go back and forth with various disagreement on this, and what I'd like to see is instead, the people take the approach, here's the path forward, here's how we can do it, and hopefully there's a more cooperative vehicle to get that done. So Rick, if you could help us with that, I'd like to see if we can get it on the next agenda, because I'm troubled by some of the email and back and forth. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, depending on what we have for the next meeting, I'll have it on the agenda. Or if not, it could have to be a future issue. There's just a lot of moving parts right now, so, but we'll see what the agenda looks like for the next meeting.
I just don't want to let it go too far. My concern is when you have, groups and individuals at odds about things, if not in the same room working out solutions, then it tends to be too much tension, right? So I think getting them in the same room is a good start.
We'll see, we'll see if we can have it on for the next agenda.
All right.
Great.
Okay, we do have an executive session, firefighters, collective bargaining, police association, collective bargaining, finance director contract, tax collector contract. Is there a motion?
I'll move to go into executive session for the purposes that you named.
Is it second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote in the affirmative. Thank you, good night. We will not be returning to open session.
Thank you.